ninth, the score is tied. It's time for the big one.
You up for this one, Maverick?
Just a walk in the park, Kazansky.
The top 1% of the Navy's jet pilots compete for Top Gun in the new movie starring Tom Cruise of Risky Business. It's one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. In addition to Top Gun, we'll also be reviewing On the Edge, a film about a veteran cross-country runner trying to make a comeback. Bruce Dern stars. Also, a teenage thriller, Dangerously Close, about a high school you wouldn't want to attend. But first, Roger starts with a comedy with a lot of big stars.
The name of the movie is Sweet Liberty. It's a film about the making of a movie, a Revolutionary War romance that's been based somewhat precariously on a serious historical work by a college professor played by Alan Alda. He is appalled when he reads the screenplay and sees that all of his scholarship has been turned into nothing more than Hollywood cliches. But on the other hand, he's intrigued by the glamour of the movies, as he is in this scene where he gets a ride with Michael Caine, who plays the star of the movie that they're making.
Mr. James, I'll take you.
No, I'll be fine, thank you.
Mr. Hodges said you were never supposed to drive yourself.
Oh, really? How odd. Get in, Michael, get in.
Mr. Hodges said I was supposed to drive you.
Tell Mr. Hodges I'll be back in no time at all. I really wish I could read what we write. Watch it. I should never have let you fence without a jacket. But I do these idiotic things. As a result, my life is an absolute mess.
Oh, yeah?
I'd never have put you down the hill if I hadn't been so distracted.
Well, what seems to be the problem?
Well, my marriage, for one thing. I have a wonderful wife and I adore her. But I've been very naughty with several of the ladies in the village. I always do that. It's incredibly self-destructive.
Elliot, there's a...
I know this sounds...
Elliot, there's a... Elliot,
Tired? Yes. You know what my problem is? The way they smell. The perfume of their skin, it's so intoxicating. I told my wife I'd never even look at other women if only I could cut off my nose.
What did she say?
She said I was aiming too high.
Caine makes passes at all the local women, and when his wife unexpectedly arrives in town, he distracts everyone with a roller coaster ride.
Enjoy yourself. Michael, if I may, I'd like to have a little chat with Leslie. Go ahead. Change seats with me.
Change seats? We're a mile up in the air.
I have to talk to Leslie.
Go ahead, I'm not moving.
Come on, Elliot.
Come on. You crazy? We'll be killed.
Elliot, we better sit down before we get to the top. It could be very dangerous. Get your feet in.
Get your leg in. You want to get hurt? What's the matter with you? Great, man. I love it. It's a lot of fun in the movie business, you know?
My God, but you smell delicious.
Elliot, I think your wife suspects something.
No. Not for a second. Give me your lips.
Take your hand off my face. Take your hand off my face. We're dying here. You worried about your face?
The bearded guy in the back seat there is Bob Hoskins. You might remember him from The Long Good Friday. A great performance. In this movie, he plays the screenwriter, or you might say he overplays the screenwriter.
You sure might.
There are a lot of cute moments in Sweet Liberty, funny little passages in the lives of its characters who are sweet and innocent, and pushovers for the temptations of romance and fame. But there are 2 problems with the movie. The first one, the moments really never add up to anything. The movie is episodic, with each scene paying its own rent but not leading into what comes next. For example, that roller coaster scene. And the second problem, the really disappointing one, is that Alan Alda, who wrote and directed this film as well as starring in it, knows more about making movies than he's telling. Instead of a fresh look here at an industry that he knows from the inside out, what he gives us is just a retread of Hollywood's own cliches about itself.
Yes, the Hollywood people come into town and they play the town for a bunch of hicks. Yeah, we've seen that movie before. I want to say something more about Alan Alda, and that is I don't like his performance in this film. Because you see, what it's really supposed to be is that he is supposed to be one of the hicks. But Alan Alda, as he plays himself, and as we know him, is a star. So what we've got is the stars meeting a star. And Alan Alda, I'm sorry, does not get into his character here. We never once believe he is not Alan Alda. He sort of presides over this movie, obviously because he's the director, he wrote it, this is his project. He's as big as anything in this movie, and I think a little of his ego got in the way of how to make a movie. He should have either cast someone else in the character and made the movie with somebody else, or at least pulled back, because he's as big a star as anyone in this movie. You know,
what I found interesting in the film, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really belong. For example, there's a little character played by Lillian Gish, who is Alan Alda's ancient mother. Miss Gish is fine, but she doesn't belong in this movie. The character doesn't belong in this movie. Instead of that, they should have had a lot more time devoted to the Michael Caine character, who's the only guy in this movie. Well, I should also have Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays his co-star.
Just don't call her a guy.
They are the right. She's not a guy. That's right. They are the two people in this movie who really have a handle on the angle of it, which is the visiting stars who take advantage of the fact that people are impressed by them so that they can take advantage of the people.
The movie should have been about just the two of them, and Alan Alda should stay out of it. Coming up next, do the old cross-country runners die, or do they fade away, or can they make a comeback?
I don't know who this guy is. Any speculation? Over?
On the Edge starts out like a predictable cornball flimsy movie, then it just grabs you by sheer persistence. Bruce Dern plays a retired long-distance runner, retired by a scandal, now thinking of making a comeback in a cross-country race to the sea across the hills of San Francisco's Marin County. One of his problems, of course, is going to be his conditioning. Another, though, is his strained relationship with his father, an old-time radical disappointed in his wayward son. Here, finally, before the big race, they make peace. Bill Bailey plays the father.
Good luck on Sunday, huh?
You knew I was running all along. Why didn't you say anything?
Because you were right, son. We all have to do it in our own way. It's taken me a long time to understand that, son. And besides, any time a damn bureaucrat says it's illegal to do something, then it's worth doing. Now get the hell out of here. I got a lot of serious thinking I got to do.
Nice scene, but it's the running, the sheer treachery of it that captures our fancy in this picture as Bruce Dern presses himself to the limit.
Right. Right.
And I think that sums up what I like about this movie. That is a rough scene giving us a sense of what running is like. I knew pretty much where this movie was going all the time, but I didn't expect its running sequences to appeal to me so much. Part of it is the landscape. It's never boring out there in Marin County, and part of it is Dern not saying all that much in this film and just running. Just running. What that means to a person is really communicated in this film. I'm not a runner myself, but On the Edge, as corny as it is sometimes, clued me into running's appeal.
I like the movie a whole lot, too. I like the running also, just as you did, but what I also liked was the movie's politics and the way it was set up. First of all, there are two great supporting performances by old guys in this movie. John Marley, who died right after the movie was finished, plays Dern's coach, and Bill Bailey, who we saw there, is an old-time radical union organizer who was his first movie role. He was terrific as the old-time radical father. These two guys have a politics of their own about running, and they believe that running means more than just winning. And so does Bruce Dern. And the end of this movie makes a real statement about the meaning of amateur sports that I appreciated. I was with you. I thought the movie was going to be real predictable when it started out. You know, he has a setback,
Well, it is
he trains
predictable.
hard,
It
and
is.
then he wins.
Yeah.
But it took an unexpected turn.
I wanted to stress this minimalist acting by Bruce Dern, because he is a runner himself. You're looking to see if you're using a fake runner there. You can't spot one. You see that he's running. I just think that if more movies cut out a lot of their dialogue, I think it was Sylvester Stallone who was quoted as saying that, you know, the perfect movie would have one word. Well, there were a lot of great silent movies, too. This, in a way, is a great silent movie. When Dern is running, the movie's telling us all we need to know.
Of course, a lot would depend on what the word was. With Stallone, it'd probably be, yo. Next at the movies, Top Gun, about the best pilots and lovers in the Navy.
Contact, multiple bogeys, 165, 2 miles. Looks like they're going away from us.
Oh, I see him. Tally ho, right 2 o'clock. I'm in.
Our next movie is a high-tech adventure film with some of the best flying footage I've seen since Clint Eastwood in Firefox. The movie's named Top Gun, and it stars Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer as 2 of the best pilots in the Navy. They get selected for elite training in aerial dogfights where they are natural rivals, and at the end of the intensive combat training course, the best pilot is named Top Gun. Here, Tom Skerritt plays the veteran instructor who will help make the decision.
What are you doing?
Tip the spear. Just wondering. Best be sharp.
Who's the best?
In case some of you wonder who the best is, they're up here on this plaque on the wall. The best driver in his reel from each class has his name on it. And they have the option to come back here to be Top Gun instructors. You think your name's gonna be on that plaque?
Yes, sir.
That's pretty arrogant, considering the company you're in.
Yes, sir.
I like that in a pilot. Just remember, when it's over out there, we're all on the same team. Gentlemen, this school is about combat. There are no points for second place.
Cruise, whose nickname is Maverick, gets a reputation as a hot dog who's a brilliant flyer but takes unnecessary chances.
Our deck, we nailed that son of a...
You guys really are cowboys.
What's your problem, Kazansky?
You're everyone's problem. That's because every time you go up in the air, you're unsafe. I don't like you because you're dangerous.
That's right. Nice, man. I am dangerous.
Maverick, you and Goose get your butts out of that flight gear and up to Viper's office now.
There's a love story in the movie between Cruise and a beautiful flight instructor played by Kelly McGillis. This is her first movie since Witness.
If I reversed on a hard cross, I could immediately go to guns on him.
Yeah, but if the speed is too fast, it's a little bit too aggressive.
Too aggressive. Yeah, I guess when I see something, I go right after it. You didn't tell me who you were the other night.
You didn't give me a chance, did you? You deserved it.
I know. But, you were tempted to ask me out for dinner.
No.
No?
No. I don't date students.
I can see it's dangerous for you. But if the government trusts me, maybe you could.
It takes a lot more than just fancy flying.
The flying footage in Top Gun is really terrific. There are 6 or 7 major dogfight sequences, and they are choreographed so well that most of the time we can actually even follow what's happening. It's when the movie is on the ground that it runs into trouble. The love story between Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis is not only unnecessary, it's unconvincing. You could see it there. There's none of the romantic chemistry that made her scenes with Harrison Ford so electrifying in Witness. The whole relationship in this movie seems to have been written in as an afterthought, and the other relationships are awfully predictable. There's the hero's best buddy, and the rival that he hates, and the old man, and the old-timer who knew his dad, and somehow we've been here before. So I give the movie thumbs down despite the great action sequences.
Well, and I give it thumbs up because of the great action sequences, because they are magnificent.
Yes, they are.
And they, as you say, these dogfights, I mean, this movie, and I think it's really a whole lot better than Firefox, and actually better than a film I have to admit, you know, one of my favorites, and yours too, The Right Stuff. I mean, this gives me a sense of what it is like to be in a plane traveling at these speeds, doing the maneuvers that they do. And how they accomplish this, I don't know, but it is masterful. I'm sure it'll win Academy Awards on a technical level. It's spectacular. I can't emphasize that enough. The love story, you're right. It's ridiculous. It's a pale imitation of An Officer and a Gentleman. Ridiculous. But it is. I can't deny that.
That's right. And, of course, Officer and a Gentleman, which was so interesting in terms of its relationships,
it would be
points out the weaknesses here. I'm telling you, I was sitting there in the theater like almost being hot and cold.
That's right. That's exactly right.
They'd be up in the air, and it would be so exciting, and I'd be like this, and then suddenly they're down on the ground, and who cares what they're talking about or what's happening?
That's the love story. The only thing that I would say, the relationship between the flight instructor, Tom Skerritt, who, you know, we haven't seen him in a good movie since MASH. That's back in 1970.
Yeah.
Gee, I wish he were doing more films. I'm glad he's in this one. That I thought was interesting. The love story, garbage, but the flight sequences, you know what they ought to do? This is the greatest advertisement for the U.S. Navy ever. They ought to have a recruiting officer in the lobby of every theater. They would sign people up. It's that exciting.
Gee, I don't know who we get to do the show. Coming up next, a vicious high school where even the teachers carry guns.
What do you say we wake these Twinkies up, huh? Deploy! Deploy!
Deploy! Our next film, Dangerously Close, is one of the year's worst movies. Utterly repellent, telling the pointless story of a high school where it seems a bunch of rich kids are bumping off kids they don't like just for the thrill of it. The rich kids have formed a club that is supposed to stop violence at the school, but it's only a ruse. Here's one of the kids they're trying to eliminate, a nonconformist punk rocker with a heart of gold.
And so it came to pass, in those last frantic days, following the late great SAT war, that a lone, cool dude rose from the quagmire to save the world from the Twinkies of Vista Verde. The Krug Warrior! What do you say we wake these Twinkies up, huh? Deploy! Deploy! Deploy!
One of the problems in this film is obviously the kid is sort of obnoxious and rude, so, you know, well, bumping him off is a little much, but telling him to shut up, that wouldn't be so bad. But listen, this is a ugly, violent, idiotic, and absurd film. The smartest kid in the class, the kid that's going to go to Princeton, which isn't a bad school, he can't figure out what's going on, that the vigilantes are bad, let alone the sheriff's department. They believe in the vigilante kids. They're good, They get rid of all the bad people. And then there's the mysterious teacher who never teaches a class, but has plenty of time to support the group. Wonder what he's up to. The film is filled with a thundering dull cast of male model types. You could see some of them posed there, posed in homosexual settings, and I don't even know what that might be in this movie and what it's doing there. It's a violent mess of a film. I think I've said it all. It's lousy. Dangerously Close to the name. Keep it a safe distance.
You know, I'll just start with the title. Walking into the theater, I thought, gee, Dangerously Close is an awfully bad name for a movie. I have a rule. Any movies that have L-Y, dangerously or whatever L-Y, or any movies that end with 3 dots, they're always bad movies. And this certainly proves it.
What about Suddenly Last Summer? That was a good movie.
Well, Suddenly Last Summer is an exception. I need to think of one. But as a matter of fact, let's move on to the movie itself.
Yeah.
This movie is bad.
Yes.
It is bad from the beginning to the end. And not only that, but it's offensive. It's repellent. It's the kind of movie that makes you not want to know any of the people who made it, because you have a feeling that they would be the kinds of people that you would rather not know.
Well, I mean, you haven't said much about specifically.
No,
you see one ugly character after another. There isn't anybody in the movie that makes any sense, and there's a lot of brutality in the film, and it's ugly and a mess.
And also, it leaves you very puzzled as to why they made it. What's the statement? What are they trying to say about this movie, except that they hate everybody in it and everybody who has to watch it? Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We both vote thumbs down on Sweet Liberty, the Alan Alda movie about a movie. It has some cute moments, but they don't add up. But 2 thumbs up for On the Edge, starring Bruce Dern as a long-distance runner who wants to win in the ways that really count. It was exciting and surprisingly thoughtful. A split decision on Top Gun. We both liked the action, but I thought the ground sequences were too predictable and uninspired. I say no. Gene says yes. Finally, 2 firmly downturned thumbs for Dangerously Close, which I think I can safely predict will be on at least one of our lists of the worst movies of the year, Gene, and that's even if it doesn't make your list.
And remember that L.Y. Roger theory and forget it immediately after this show. That's it for this week. Next time, 4 new movies, including Allie, L.Y., Sheedy, and Judd Nelson, a romantic comedy called Blue City, T.Y., Home of the Brave, a concert film featuring performance artist Laurie Anderson. That's I-E. Yeah. Until then, we'll see you at the movies. That theory is horrible.